40. Today we're going to be discussing writing with clarity and intention, just the bulk of week 2. Last week we discussed academic and professional writing and even a bit of personal writing, and all of this information is going to follow us into this unit. Each week builds upon the other when it comes to the content. So it's always a good idea to refresh yourself on previous units, especially when we get to the middle of the course. Go back, take a look at Unit 1, Unit 2, and so on and so forth, because this content is going to be very important in later units. But right now, since we're on week 2, there's a few things I want to talk about. As always, make sure you're starting with the objectives and activities. That way you know what specifically the unit's going to be focusing on. Make sure you take a look at the readings and resources because there are articles, pieces from the textbook that you need to read so you can fully understand what's being asked of you in the discussion board and the assignment. And then, of course, the mind taps reading and activities. So this is the textbook itself. And the textbook, of course, has very, very important information. And those mind taps, again, will reinforce what you did in the readings previously. Now, the week 2 activity is about a character named Sasha. Sasha is going to be the star of our week 2 assignment. So it's important that you complete this activity prior to starting the discussion board and the assignment. In the discussion board, you're going to be reflecting on feedback. And that's specifically what Sasha does in the week 2 activity. But here, it says we want to share a time when feedback confused or motivated you. So think back to an instance where you were given feedback, whether it was by an instructor or a boss or perhaps a family member. And how did you feel about that feedback? Was it constructive? Did it make you want to do better the next time? Or was it confusing and did you have to seek out more answers? And we want to know how you responded initially. We all know that sometimes getting feedback can be difficult and it alters the way that we look at certain situations. So if you've had time now to reflect on that feedback, how has your initial response changed? So you you could tell your instructor and you could tell your classmates how you first reacted, but perhaps looking back on it now, how you should have reacted. And since this is a writing course, we want to think about the writing component. What did you think of the comments that were given with grammar, spelling, and punctuation? So it'd be best to use something, a reflection on a writing activity you did. So think back to maybe something you wrote for an instructor or a boss, or if you want to go the family route, perhaps you wrote a specific letter to someone in the family, or perhaps you constructed an itinerary for a vacation for your family. What's the feedback you got from it, and how is writing involved? The week 2 assignment, writing choices, which we're going to take a look at now, is going to be writing a mock email to Sasha's professor. So let's take a look. We're going to click View Instructions, and we see the very first thing it wants to do is review the week 2 activity. So even if you've already looked at the activity, it's important that you do so again. Write down some key ideas, some notes. That way you have them nearby when you're going to be writing your essay, or I should say your email. So it says Sasha has received 2 conflicting types of feedback for her writing. Her professor says that her writing is too casual, while her supervisor praised the same message for being relatable. So anyone would feel confused by that. 2 very different points of view. If we're thinking back to what we discussed in Unit 1, we see the professor, which is an academic setting, an academic audience, and a supervisor, which is a professional setting, a professional audience. So you're going to be tasked with writing an email from Sasha's point of view to the instructor. So the audience here is an academic audience. So in order to understand why she needs to write this email, you need to make sure that you have some ideas from the activity. And it says the email should respond to one of Sasha's situations, explaining your argument for why Sasha wrote the way she did, and apply appropriate grammar, style, and tone for clarity. That key word, clarity, that's the bulk of this unit. How can we write in a way that's clear and respectful. So we get our point across to the reader, but we do so in a way that's productive. Now, a key point, you're writing this email from Sasha's point of view. So think back to Unit 1. We discussed first person point of view, personal pronouns like I, me, we, us. You are Sasha in this assignment. So you're writing the email as the student, as Sasha. So you can use first person. However, after you do that, you're going to be writing a reflection, discussing your revisions. So when we move into you as the student that you are, you're still going to be writing in the first person because even though in the reflection, you're not taking on the role of Sasha anymore, you're still writing from the first person. So I, me, we, us is still very important. Those are the personal pronouns you're going to want to use. So this whole thing's done in first person. It's just two separate people. Sasha, that's who you're playing in the first part, and then yourself later on in the reflection. A few key points here. You want to make sure you add a to, from, and subject line since this is an email. While we're not actually sending this through Outlook, we're still structuring it as an email, so it's important that we have those three pieces. You can use your post-university email as the responding email. And then you can follow to create ones for the instructor. Now, again, it's written in Sasha's point of view. So you could even construct the email instead of yours to be a fake one that you made up for Sasha. So it could be sasha@students.post.edu, something like that. Your email should be 3 paragraphs of 5 to 7 sentences, and your reflection should be 1 paragraph. And you're going to want to submit your email on a Microsoft Word document. You're not putting it into the text box in the assignment section. You're completing it on Microsoft Word and uploading the Word doc to the section required. And if you have any questions about how to do that, there's a great link here that does so. So you don't need to have a title page or a references page for this assignment. It's not required that you use the APA 7 template here. However, if you do want to include a title page, it's a great idea and you can still use the template, but it's not required. Regardless, though, it needs to be in Microsoft Word. And as always, please make sure you take a look at the rubric because this tells you where the specific points are and how they're going to be utilized by your instructor when they're grading it. So we see here in email content, needs improvement says response is incomplete, off topic, or lacks justification. Response not written from Sasha's point of view. That would be 2 points, but for 5 points, it says clearly explains and justifies Sasha's writing choices with strong logical reasoning and relevant examples. Response clearly written from Sasha's point of view. The reflection. 2 points says reflection is minimal or missing, shows little evidence of revision or reflection. Whereas here it says for 5 points, reflective paragraph thoughtfully discusses specific reasons made and explains how they improve clarity and communication. 2 very different ideas, 1 full points, 1 only 2 points. And we also see here the personal experience. It's important that you incorporate appropriate personal experience in the context of the topic that we're discussing here. So when you utilize your personal experience, it's probably going to be best done so in the reflection paragraph. You're going to want to make sure it aligns with the topic of this unit and with this assignment. Grammar, style, and tone. We see that it's broken down in specific ways. In order to get exemplary, you must have the to, from, and the subject line. And then the length. Email includes 3 clear paragraphs of 5 to 7 sentences each. So 2 paragraphs will be your email and 1 paragraph will be your reflection. When you complete this, make sure you put a heading when you get to your reflection portion So your instructor knows that we're moving away from the first person point of view of Sasha to the first person point of view to you as the writer. And again, if you have any questions about how to upload it, make sure you take a look here at this wonderful resource that's been created by the university. If you have any questions, of course, you can reach out to your instructor or the Center for Academic Success. And this is due by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. of Unit 2. All right, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I appreciate you joining me today.